The US-based edtech company Coursera has launched 4,000 courses in Hindi, which it has developed using artificial intelligence. Today, we have their CEO, Jeff, with us, who will talk more about it. So, Jeff, last when we met in October of 2022, the whole world was just coming out of COVID, and everybody was talking about upskilling and skilling. Today, it's Gen AI that we are talking about. So how has this space evolved? How have things changed?
It is changing very, very rapidly. You know, I started my trip this time in Chennai. I was at the Global Investor Conference there, and then came to Delhi. Friday, I head up to Davos. But this time last year, the world was just introduced to generative AI. In the last year, even just at Coursera, we have translated 4,000 courses into 18 languages, including Hindi, which means that almost everyone in the world can now learn on Coursera. We've created something called Coach, which is a personalized learning assistant, so that if you're having trouble learning a concept on Coursera, you have your own tutor who can teach you, and not just teach you about the course, but could actually help guide you in your career. We've also built something called Course Builder that allows universities and businesses to use content on Coursera to create custom courses for their students and their employees. And we're just getting started, so things are moving very, very rapidly.
So tell me one thing. Usually, how long would have taken you to convert a course in a different language, and how is it different with Gen AI?
We have translated courses in the past. It would typically cost $10,000 to translate one course into one language, usually about 3 months.
Okay.
Now we can translate a course into a language for $20. And I can tell you this. On Tuesday, I just launched a course that I created called Navigating Generative AI, a CEO Playbook. I finished my last video on Sunday, and by Tuesday, the entire course was translated into 20 languages.
That's interesting. And so, but again, with Gen AI, you have to put checks and balances in place, right?
Absolutely.
So what are you doing that?
Well, there's a lot of things. So when it comes to a lot of it has to do with the application of generative AI. What are you using the model for? You raise a great point, though, which is any user of Gen AI needs to understand not only the general limitations and risks of the technology, but the specific limitations and risks that are relevant to that use case. In language translation, what we needed to do was to make sure we put a human in the loop. So before we actually release the course, we have linguists look at the actual writing to make sure that it's up to standard. We also have learner disclosures. Everything is disclosed that this is translated by a machine. And we have the ability for learner feedback, which is if a learner sees something that doesn't look right, they click a little button that says, not good. And then we have humans go and fix that. So part of it is the awareness of when there might be an issue by the learners and having a human in the loop to fix it. Now, when it comes to Coach, which is the interactive tutor, there's a different set of risks. In this case, we don't want it to give the wrong answer. The way that we have constrained that risk is that when you're in a course and you ask a question, before we answer the question, we say, is that question relevant to the course? If it's not relevant to the course, we say, that's not relevant to the course, we're not going to help you with that. Then when we answer the question, we get the content in the course that came from the instructor, and that's the basis for answering the question. So when people worry about hallucinations, there's something called context grounding, where you can say, give the answer from this set of content. So we give the course to the chatbot and say, make your answer from this expert content. And then when the answer comes back, we say, again, is that answer relevant to the course? And if it's not, we say, we can't give you the answer. So you need to use the technology and understand the risks. And that's a lot of what my course does for leaders. This helps you understand how do you use technology like generative AI, but be aware of the risks and manage those risks.
Right. And I hear from your team members that other organizations where they're restricted from using ChatGPT and Gen AI, you're a firm believer that your productivity can be enhanced if you're using Gen AI. So
there's no doubt about it. I mean, now study after study after study, plus my personal experience as a CEO using generative AI, I'm sure that you as a journalist using generative AI, software engineers using generative AI, almost every single job function. It's not theoretical. People using it are realizing they're far more productive. But you have to make sure that you use it in the right way. And so teaching people, everybody, the right ways to use it and what the risks are really important. You know, there's a saying in F1. It says, if you want to go fast, you need good brakes. And I think something similar is true, which is if you want to adopt generative AI quickly, you need to have guardrails. You need to have ethical statements. You have to have policies and even technical sandboxes to protect the security and make sure that people only use certain language models so that you mitigate those risks. You can't just say, go use generative AI. Well, you can, but it'd be very dangerous. You have to have that balance between going fast and being safe.
And if you can throw some light on how Gen AI is being used for your own operations at Coursera.
Well, yes, we are doing a lot of things. Our software engineers are using generative AI for pair programming. Our marketers are using generative AI to create copy and translate copy. Our salespeople are using generative AI to develop sales scripts and prospecting emails. Our customer service agents are using generative AI. This is amazing. We now have agents that speak one language, and they're serving people who speak 5 different languages. The software takes the learner request, translates it into the language of the service agent, they type the answer in their language, and then translates it back real time with the chatbot. And then for me, I'm using generative AI. And there's a whole part of my course called Using Generative AI as a Thought Partner. So you can use generative AI to summarize things, help you evaluate things, analyze things, compare things, integrate things, communicate things. And I'm using it as a thinking tool to help me think more clearly and to communicate more clearly.
Right. When we last met in October of 2022, moonlighting was the big issue.
Oh, yes, I remember.
Right. And today, if you look at it, because of Gen AI, there's a big problem of layoffs. So what is your opinion on that, and how can one tackle that?
Yeah, I think that we don't know for sure which jobs will be impacted the most. Certainly lots of research is suggesting that jobs that involve spoken language, written language, programming languages, as well as audio, video, and sound, and images, are probably going to be impacted quite a bit. But McKinsey just came out with a report that says even though STEM professions will have a lot of impact from generative AI, the demand for STEM professionals will still increase. So I think a lot of companies are being conservative right now. They're trying to figure out which jobs am I going to need and how will people use this differently. I still think, and McKinsey thinks, that there's going to be a long-term demand for STEM professionals.
Right. And for today's professionals who are still employed or who are still looking for jobs, how do you think they can stay relevant? What are the courses that they should look at for upskilling themselves?
Yeah. I think the most important thing to really think about is, in your job, how do you create value? I mean, as a CEO, as an employer, any employee, whether it's a journalist or whether it's someone writing software or a salesperson, it's like, how do you add value to this company? And then the question is, how can you create better work output, more effective deliverables that have a bigger impact on customer service or on any part of the company? And then how can you do that more effectively, more efficiently? So the first big piece is going to just say, how can I do my job better using these tools? But then the second piece is, how might my job change altogether? In a world where technology might allow me to not have to do these tasks, what are the new tasks that I can do that would be even more valuable? So people often talk about automation versus augmentation. And almost every job is going to have part of their job automated, and then the key for the individual to say, what can I do with my freed up time that's more valuable for my company? So people who are lifelong learners and really think about delivering value to the customer and value to the company, they're going to do the best in the workplace.
Right. Just diverting this conversation from Gen AI to sustainability. Everywhere in the world right now, there's a huge talent crunch when it comes to sustainability, ESG-related roles. So do you have courses on your platform? How is the uptake, and what kind of response do you see from India vis-a-vis Southeast Asia or other parts of the world?
Yeah. Sustainability is obviously incredibly important. It's the top of almost every government's agenda. When it comes to investing, investors also care about sustainability and ESG. What we've seen on Coursera, though, is that institutions are very interested in sustainability programs and certification. And we're seeing very good uptake within institutions of how to make their businesses more sustainable, by training their employees on sustainability. Individuals, though, without being part of an institution, they're not really buying a lot of sustainability courses because it's hard to know, like, what job am I going to get if I learn this thing about sustainability? I suspect what's going to happen, and we're heading in this direction, is that there will be function-specific sustainability certificates. So you won't be the sustainability person. I mean, some people will, but you're going to be a operations manager who has a sustainability expertise. Or you'll be a production line manager who has sustainability expertise, or a software engineer who understands about sustainability with respect to compute. Sustainability will be an adjacent skill for almost every job, but individuals don't seem to be going out and buying these certificates as much as institutions are.
And do you see organizations really coming to you and helping their employees upskill in, say, Gen AI or sustainability-related courses or some other areas?
Yeah, certainly with respect to sustainability, that's a long-term, important agenda item. Gen AI is both important and urgent. Right. We just launched the Generative AI Academy in December, and now companies are rolling out Generative AI for everyone. That's an educational program to teach everybody the basics of the capabilities and the risks and the ethics. Then we just launched in January Generative AI for leaders, and I have this course, Generative AI for CEOs. And then the third piece is going to be Generative AI for team leads that goes function by function and teaches each function how Generative AI will change their business. So we see Generative AI going very rapidly, and sustainability is important, but Generative AI seems to be more urgent right now.
Right. And I believe L&T has also partnered with Coursera today. So could you throw some light on that?
Well, L&T is an amazing organization. You fly into Delhi and you land, the terminal's like a palace. It's beautiful. It rivals any airport in the world that I've been to. And so it's a company that does a very wide range of things. They have Coursera for every single employee. And they set up academies in finance, academies in cybersecurity. And now they have the first company in India to implement the Generative AI Academy for all employees at L&T. They also not only use Coursera content, but they publish content from L&T on Coursera. 85,000 people around the world are learning from L&T because they've published their courses on Coursera. So it goes both ways, and they're an incredibly innovative partner of ours.
Right. So Jeff, tell me, if you were to tell me, what are the top 5 courses on Coursera globally and in India?
Yeah. There's a lot of overlap.
Okay.
I will say that among the top 5 on Coursera that's not on India is The Science of Well-Being from Yale. Very popular internationally. You know, it's popular, but not among the top 10 in India. Mm-hmm. There's another one which is Learning How to Learn, which I really love. Very popular internationally, not as popular in India. A third one is K-pop, First Step K-pop. There's a lot of people in different countries who love K-pop, and they all want to learn Korean, but not as much in India. Here are the top courses in India. Data-driven decision-making from Google. Financial markets from Yale. Leadership fundamentals from IIM Ahmedabad. Cybersecurity from Microsoft. Machine learning and regression from Stanford. These are very practical, business-oriented, job-oriented skill programs, and that is the character of India. People really seeing education as an opportunity to drive their careers forward.
So if you were to talk about India, where does India fit in the overall scheme of Coursera in terms of professionals coming on board and learning, your operations in India?
Yeah, I think there's 2 sides of it, right? Part of it is how do we serve, maybe even 3, how do we serve customers in India? That's one piece. Another is how do we partner with the 18 universities? We have partnerships with the top universities in India who are publishing courses on Coursera, and companies like L&T, industry partners in India, publishing on Coursera and educating the rest of the world. So Indian institutions who've published on Coursera have taught 1.1 million people outside of India in 180 different countries. So Coursera is bringing India to the rest of the world. And then the third piece is what you just mentioned, which is Coursera's team in India. So we have about 200 people in India today in pretty much every function. It's not just back office functions. It's UX design, it's finance, it's strategy, it's sales, it's software engineering, front end and back end, full stack. And I would say that for sure that we will hire more employees in India than any other country. And maybe up to half of the employees that we hire in the next year will be in India. I mean, we see such amazing talent in India that we're just going to start really building more and more of our team here.
So what are the skills that you look for when you're hiring in India?
Oh, it's not even different from India and everywhere else. Here's what I look for. Number one is the person passionate, committed. It's old-fashioned. Passionate about what we do. Are they committed to doing good work? Are they willing to work hard and be an agile learner? Number two, do they have the skills to do the job well? And number three, are they good team players? If you have someone who's honest and works hard, who's got good skills and willing to develop more skills, and is good to work with and makes others around them perform better, I don't care what country you're in, that's an employee that I want to hire.
Right. Just talking a bit about inflation that has impacted every country in the world. How has inflation impacted your operations?
Almost not at all. I mean, to a large degree, when we look at inflation in the U.S., we're obviously a publicly traded company. What you find is when inflation rates are high, you crank up the interest rates. When interest rates are high, you put the discount rate on the cash flows. When you do that, growth stocks drop. Because we're a public company, yeah, our stock price dropped like almost all growth companies, but we have $700 million cash in the bank. We have no debt. We told Wall Street last quarter that we're going to be profitable, and we're growing really well. So we're doing fine, and it really has had almost no impact on our company other than the macroeconomic environment. Clearly, when economies are doing well, people spend more money on training and building, and so we do better when the economies are doing better, and the Indian economy has been really good in the last few years.
And what do you think will be the growth drivers for the next few years to come?
It's talent. It's talent development. It's basically helping individuals and institutions and society more broadly adapt to the rate of change that's being driven by technology, led by generative AI. The level of upskilling that we're going to see because of the disruption to jobs and the new opportunities and threats created is going to be like anything that we've seen before. I think it'll have a bigger impact than COVID. And the only path through is going to be education. The only path through. So we're excited. We're here. The technology is helping us help people adapt to the technology.
Right. And one last question. Now, can you please tell me more about the course that you have launched?
Oh, well, I'm so excited about it. It's called Navigating Generative AI, a CEO Playbook. Okay. I basically, it's a 19-hour course.
Okay.
It's for CEOs and leaders who need to set strategy, understand the technology, and transform their teams while understanding the risks. Basically, what it has is an overview of not only how it works, but how it's used. What are the use cases of generative AI? And how can you create value for your customers? How can you increase productivity? There's a whole section on strategy. Where will competition come from? How will you need to reinvent your processes, your supply chains? What about your cost drivers? How will your pricing change? What about your customer segments? So it's really using generative AI to set your generative AI strategy. And I have, 9 guest speakers. Andrew Ng, I have the CEO of Salesforce AI, I have the Chief AI Officer from Orange, I have the co-founder for the Directors Academy at Stanford. These are all guest lectures in my course because nobody can teach this by themselves. It really is a community of experts that needs to teach. And so any CEO or any business leader that wants to understand the technology and set up a strategy, the course is a good one for them.
So how has been the response?
It's been great so far. It's early days, but we're seeing really a lot of interest. And I think what people really like is the idea it's not just talking about generative AI, it's using generative AI. And you're not just using it to play with it, you're using it to build your strategy that's relevant to your business. So far, a lot of enthusiasm.
Great. Thank you, Jeff, so much for speaking to Business Today, and all the best.
Thank you.